Greetings. And today I want to do a video on lung condition. Yeah. Because there are different lung condition that lots of herbalists don't mention to a lot of our people. So there are different types of lung condition. We're going to talk about those in a little while. And in our medicine, the lung is a tender organ of the body because of where it is located in the upper chest cavity. And because it is very spongy, and the lung is what we call the metal element of the body, yeah? And the liver is the wood element of the body. So metal cut wood. So if there is troubles in the lung, there are going to be troubles in your liver. If you have cancer in your liver, it's going to go to your lung. If there is lung cancer, the cancer is going to go from the lung to the liver or to the brain, yeah? Because they are both metal and wood element, yeah? But there are different conditions of the lung. There is a cold and a damp condition of the lung. You have to know what herbs to use for that condition. There is a cold and dry condition of the lung. You have to know what herbs to use for that condition. There is a hot and dry condition of the lung. You have to know what herbs to use for that condition. And there is a hot, damp condition of the lung, and you have to know, the herbalist, what herbs to use for these conditions. If you use the wrong herb for those conditions, it is the possibility that you might feel worse thinking that the herb is not working when in fact you are using the wrong herb. Good example. If you have a hot and a dry condition of the lung, you can't use ginger because ginger is hot. But if you have a cold and a damp condition of the lung, you can use ginger because ginger could warm up the burner. You see what I'm saying? If you have a cold and a dry condition of the lung, you can use ginger, and you can also use what? Sea moss. Because sea moss is the emulsient and it will moisten the lung tissue. See? Causing the lung to respond to what you're doing because the lung is too dry. You can't use a herb that is dry for a dry condition of the lung. And that's the reason why we do these videos, to teach people what herb is better to use for what condition of the lung, right? So we're going to talk about 4 herbs that work on the lung and do different things to the lung. So you can educate yourself about using plants. So if you go to a herbalist and you have a dry condition of your lung and he give you the wrong herb, you're going to say, no sir, Mr. Dels taught me that this herb is not for my condition. You have to give me a herb that could moisten my lung tissue. See what I'm saying? All right, so we're going to go. So we just made a juice of ginger, one grain of garlic, apples, and grapes. And what it do, it helps to activate the capillaries. It strengthens the veins, and it keeps the capillaries strong so the blood can move without giving what we call a blood vessel disease. Yeah. So every day, at least you could drink a glass of this from a juicer, and it will keep the doctors away. Don't forget. Okay, now let's go over here. This is a formula that I made for the lung, but it is for a hot and dry condition of the lung. Yeah. And then this formula is called lung formula, and it is just for regular people who have regular coughs but want to take care of the lung, and if they have COPD also, yeah? And this one here is called lung, heart, kidney, and spleen meridian formula, because in Eastern medicine, there are what we call meridians, and each meridian have what we call channels, move things from one organ to the next. So the lung meridian feeds the heart meridian, and the heart meridian feeds the kidney meridian, and the kidney meridians feed the spleen meridian because the spleen makes the blood. And because the kidney is very significant in terms of making renin to keep the pressure healthy and also working with the red blood cell to create oxygen, those meridians are very significant if you're going to work on heart, lung, kidney, and spleen. Okay? But we're going to talk about 4 herbs today. And the first one we're going to talk about is called Yerba Santa. And Yoba Santa is a herb that is very significant for asthma people, especially adults and children. Now there is damp asthma and there is dry asthma. Yeah? So Yoba Santa is an antispasmodic, and it is also an expectorant, meaning that if you have lots of mucus that is sticky and hard to come out, this herb with another herb called Edicampain or Big Thyme can loosen up the herb in the chest cavity and push it out. We call it expectorant plants. So this herb is an antispasmodic plant. It is used for a cold and a damp condition of the lung with coughing and excessive amount of mucus. It is also good for damp asthma, meaning that if you have asthma and you're wheezing, that's damp, you can use this herb for that particular condition of the lung called damp asthma. It is also good for damp or walking pneumonia. See? So when you have pneumonia and you have lots of water in the lung, dampness we call that, then this herb works wonderful for that. It is also good for damp bronchitis. Yeah? It is also good for cystitis, uritis, and it's also good for men's prostate gland, especially if the men have a bacteria in the prostate gland that causes him to get bacterial prostatitis. Yeah? So it is very significant to mix this herb with another herb called ginger, food herb, and orange peel, because orange peel and ginger also work for a cold, damp condition of the lung, because orange peel deals with the dampness and the ginger warm up the burner from the coldness that you're getting. We call chili feeling, we call it in herbal medicine. The next one is called lobelia. And lobelia is a very interesting plant, although it has to be used with caution. So if we are using the 8-method therapy called emetic, we can use this herb called lobelia in abundance, and it will make you go through what we call elevation. Elevation means that you are moving things from the digestive system up to the throat to vomit it out. It's called elevation. So usually if you have food poisoning, you can use lots of this herb in abundance, like 60 to 80 drops under the tongue, until you feel like you want to vomit, and you will bring back up the poison. We call it elevation, not suppression, but elevation. So this herb called lobelia acts as an antispasmodic to the lung. So it works wonderful with this herb called Yoba Santa for asthma. Yeah? This herb also works on the heart, not only on the lung, because usually we said before that the lung control the heart and the heart control the lung, and the heart control the kidney and the kidney control the heart. Don't forget that. We're going to go into these systems so you can learn about good herbal medicine, okay? Not these people on social media talking about this herb for the lung and that herb for the lung. There are many different herbs for the lung, but you have to know what the condition is of the lung before you can use the herb that is for that condition, yeah? So this herb called lobelia is an antispasmodic plant to the lung, to the heart, to the musculoskeletal system also. It is good for asthma, pertussis, muscle spasm, back pain, neck pain, if you can use the oil of this herb. So if you have neck pain and back pain, lower back pain that is, and you have what you call spinal stenosis, or you have sciatic nerve pain, you can mix this herb oil with lobelia oil with another herb called willowbark or anica oil, and it will stop the neck pain and the back pain. Yeah, it is also good for petit mal epilepsy. If you can mix it with the same Yoba Santa and another herb called black haw, yeah, they are very good for people who have petit mal epilepsy. Yeah, it is also important for when you're having troubles in the spinal column, spasm of the spine. It works wonderful for that. And the oil can be used on boils and infections. So if you have a boil, this herb, the oil of the lobelia plant, can get rid of the boils and the infection and move the pus out, because it is also antispasmodic. Okay, so these two herbs here, lobelia and Yoba Santa, is wonderful for asthma, especially damp asthma. But lobelia can be used for either damp asthma or dry asthma. Don't forget, the damp asthma is when you're wheezing. Damp asthma is the opposite, okay? Next one. Now this herb is an interesting herb. It's called Prince Seng. We call it a ginseng of the lung. It's called Tai Si Sheng. And it is what we call a yin tonic, yin and yang principle. This herb is used as an adaptogen. Adaptogen means that if you have stress and your adrenals is not working properly, and you want to get rid of the stress or make you control your stress or your anxiety, this herb here works well with schisandra berry, licorice, ashwagandha, damiana, skullcap, and even more, because it helps to balance your stress but give you energy in the process, because we call it a ginseng of the lung. So if you have any kind of trouble in the lung and you have weakness of the lung, we can use this herb called Prince Seng or Tai Si Sheng to strengthen the lung, because it is a yin tonic. It used as an an adaptogen and a demulcent. It is good for dry, irritated mucous membranes, dry cough, emphysema, meaning when you have lung disease, emphysema, and post-pneumonia. So before you have pneumonia, or after your pneumonia your pneumonia is gone, you can use this herb to strengthen the lung, because pneumonia can also damage the lung. So if you have pre-pneumonia or post-pneumonia, you can put this herb in there to keep the lung strong. Or if the lung is collapsing and is weak, when you get better from the attack of pneumonia, you can also use this herb called Prince Seng to strengthen the lung, because it acts as what we call a ginseng of the lung. Yeah? It is also important for a spleen that is deficient. We call it deficient yin of the spleen. And because we know that the spleen makes the blood and the liver stores the blood. So it is very important for spleen deficiency. And it is very important for weakness and lack of appetite. So if you're taking chemotherapy, for instance, and you're taking a drug called cisplatin that kills the cells in the stomach walls and cause you to lose your appetite, you can use this particular herb to gain back your appetite, because it strengthens the nerves in the stomach walls so that you can eat, okay? So it's very important for not only the lung, but it is also an adaptogen, meaning that it helps you to adapt to the stressful environment that you're living in, okay? It calls Prince Seng, yeah? This one is called Opiopogon, Mai Meng Dong. And it's a Chinese herb again. You can do Chinese medicine. And it is very important for the lung, because it nourishes the lung. Opiopogon does. And this is very important for dry cough. So if you have a hot, dry condition of the lung, see, hot and dry, this herb can be used there for when you have, see all the herbs in here? See them here? See my Opiopogon? Because honeysuckle. So if you have a hot, dry condition of the lung, you can use Opiopogon, honeysuckle, lobelia, sea moss, licorice, fuling, and different herbs that helps with what we call a hot, dry condition of the lung. So Opiopogon is very significant because it nourishes the lung. And it is good for dry cough, dry mouth, dry lips. So if a person has certain syndrome and they have dry eyes, dry mouth, dry lips, they can use this particular herb also. Yeah? It is also good for hot, dry bronchitis, sore throat with thick mucus. And if you can use that with, as I said before, Yoba Santa and lobelia and elecampane, it can help to release the mucus of the lung and bring it up. Yeah? Red, yellow, or green mucus. It is also good for coughs that is associated with what? Febrile disease we call measles and influenza and etc. 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 Yeah? Yin deficiency. So when you have yin deficiency, this herb can also work well, because when you have a yin deficiency, mean you have dry stool and you have what we call atrophic gastritis, this herb can use there. It's called opiopogon. So don't look at the 4 herbs. Opiopogon, Yoba Santa, Lobelia, Princeton. You can use sea moss if the lung is dry. You can use ginger if you have a cold condition of the lung. You can use orange peel if the condition is damp, okay? So these are the herbs you can use, but there's lots of them you can use for the lung, okay? So don't forget. Now, everything is about education. So once you can be educated about how your lung function and how your body function, and you go to a herbalist and he give you some herbs for the condition that you have, and the herb is not compatible for your lung condition, you can educate that herbalist to let them know, yo, Mr. Des taught us about a herb that work for different condition of the lung. You can go to my website, patrickdelsHolisticHealing.com. .com, not .life. .life is a fake. They're taking my pages, so be very careful and don't send your money for anybody. And then we have lots of people say they make orders from since last year. A lot of orders came back to us, and we are calling people, and people not answering their phone. So you could give me a call at 631-530-2329. See if your order came back, okay? But don't send money for no one, because there's a lot of scam over there. So be very careful. Blessed love, and give thanks and praise to the Most High. The next presentation we're going to do for YouTube again is on men's health and how the man can keep his prostate healthy and have good sexual health at an older age. Blessed love. Give thanks always. All right.